Hello and welcome to our podcast, Real Out Loud. Join us and together we'll be engaging in conversations about the truths not spoken of, reflections about life and other issues, and experiences that reel or bring women off balance. I'm your host and my name is Nicole, and joining me will be my co-host, Pinkinia, and on our platform we'll have guests from different facets of life, some who have also had it real with life, and some professionals to give us information on these reflections as we figure out how to survive the real. Welcome to the Real Out Loud podcast. My name is Nicole, and today we'll be engaging in a conversation with a peer and a professional guest where we're going to talk about the things that reel or bring people off balance. Join us in today's episode as I'm going to be engaging with an individual called Rob. Hi, Rob.
Hello, Nicole. How's it going?
I'm good. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to know you.
Nah, that is fine. I'm Robert. A father of two, project manager by profession. Typically interested in social issues and our life.
So you're in the right place, eh?
Yes, I'm in the right place. Really appreciate being on the platform.
Okay, nice to have you as well. You can go on, tell us about yourself.
Cool. So, I'm a project manager by profession. I'm basically a father of two. I have a son, Oyama, a daughter, Liana, and my life just revolves around doing what's best for the kids. Just reworking social constructs with them and just trying to do different from what my parents did, and just trying to empower my kids and be the best at what I do professionally. Yeah, that's basically me, and I'm overly interested in engaging on social topics, certain topics that people might consider taboo excite me, so I enjoy engaging on that.
I think we're going to have a good time today because you just mentioned that you want to do better than your parents actually did. So, which brings us to today's topic where we're going to be talking about the transition, the transition from childhood to adulthood. How are you feeling about that topic?
I am super excited about the topic. It's something I've been reading up on also, but there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's basically an experience thing, and I'm hoping my experiences help the next person. So what I'm going to share help someone, not reinvent the wheel, but yeah, they can just like springboard off whatever it is I've experienced, and I'm going to share on the platform.
Oh, okay. All right. Adulthood is kind of like the point where a person crosses over from the life of a child into that of a person who can now be considered as, maybe mature, maybe fully developed, or able to assume responsibility over themselves and others, right? So we basically know that our society focuses on the different aspects when determining what it means to be an adult. So I'm just thinking, when you were young, how was it defined in your own family or community to say that, you're now an adult?
Okay, so it was basically like the cliche, like, go to school, get yourself a degree. Beyond your degree, get yourself a job. When you get yourself a job, you have money to get married. So, go and pay lobola, kick a white wedding, and now you have a wife. Now you have someone to take care of. So you've essentially stepped into adulthood. But I think that the starting point of adulthood is, typically in society, is getting yourself a degree. The day of graduation is the day you step into adulthood, because typically that's when you get kicked out of the house to go figure yourself out.
Okay, tell me something. Now that you have grown, you are talking about it's the perspective changes over time when you were actually in that position of transitioning? Now that you have grown, do you still agree with this view that, go to school, get a degree, get a job, be married, and, are you still agreeing to that view, or you have a different opinion to that?
To be honest with you, I have a different opinion based on experiences. I've seen how, you know, it's unique to people. I feel like we shouldn't be dictating what adulthood is to people because it's
Okay.
unique to everyone. I think adulthood comes with the responsibility. It also comes with figuring yourself out as a person. I think the starting point is figuring out like yourself as a person. So, who am I? A lot of people
Okay.
don't know who they are, so you're gonna get tossed around, you're gonna get kicked around, and people are gonna dictate what your goals are based on the fact that you don't know yourself. So I think the starting point is knowing who you are. So I'm gonna say it's changed because I'm 31 at the moment. I'm only starting to figure myself out. It's been a 2-year journey so far of trying to figure myself out because I was under like societal pressure. Like I said before, what society envisions for a person is go to school, get yourself a degree, get yourself a wife, start a family, push your job. And I don't think that's what adulthood is. My perception of what adulthood is has changed entirely. I feel like, for example, like the education system
Uh,
short changes us of the whole adult experience because you come out of this mold thinking that this is what adulthood is, but it's a totally like different process.
it's a
So
different, yeah, it's a different experience totally. Now that you're talking of age, I'm also 33, but I'm still even trying to figure myself out at this stage because what actually brought me to this topic? I got to a point where I was in my early 30s. I think I was 31 or 32. And I just started to have a different opinion of what adulthood means. Like you were saying, to say we were brought up to believe that you have to have, go to school, get educated, and have marriage, and, then you have transitioned enough. So I was just querying and asking myself, am I not really transitioning at the stage and the rate that is expected of me? Because now I'm not married. So I'm just thinking, how do we define it now? Who decides that we are adults?
yeah. uh Look, I think
Is it age?
nah.
What is it? Mm.
Look, I think legislation for starters dictates that you become
You're an
an adult. So
adult.
so you
You're
turn
18,
18,
so
you
you're
turn
an
18,
adult.
so you're an adult now.
Mm.
Um, which is robbery.
Mm.
It's robbery, but like I mean, I'll drift from legislation, to the more real
Mm.
stuff. I think society in itself. I think the people we engage with, churches, friends,
Mm.
put
Mm.
us under pressure to become adults. So I think there's a common term that people use that's cliche term, like are you mature? It opens up a can of worms when you start talking about maturity, because people equate maturity to adulthood.
Mm. So you're basically saying that people can actually assume you are ready by comparing you with other people of your age, to say because you're all 18, then you definitely have to be an adult now. You have to act responsible and whatnot without necessarily considering certain circumstances.
Exactly. So here's, one of the questions I normally pose to people, like,
Uh,
what's being responsible, and to who am I answering to in terms of like being responsible? Because,
okay.
one of the like pre-engagement, like in terms of like pre-engagement, one of the questions I like one of the issues we talked about was, I feel like if you don't have like a say in my day to day,
Mm.
I shouldn't be answering to you in any way. And I feel like a lot of us need to drift away from this perception that we need to answer to people, because I've realized like depression, stress, etc. stem from people
Yeah.
pleasing.
Yeah.
So like at this stage, I don't agree with people pleasing. I think you do what makes you happy. You define what adulthood or responsibility is to you.
Mm. What is it to you? What is it to be responsible to you? You just gave us a background of yourself. I want to understand. Probably someone is thinking, okay, responsibility, and they're trying to like kind of like having a battle in their mind. What would you call responsibility from your own perspective of your own individual life?
Look, to me, responsibility first and foremost is
Mm.
responsibility to yourself. I think
Okay.
you cannot feed into other people. You cannot feed positive energy. You cannot feed love. You cannot feed
Mm.
growth into other people if you don't take care of yourself first. So I think
Okay.
responsibility first and foremost is being responsible for yourself. Like I said, figuring yourself out, taking care of yourself.
Mm.
Like, people underestimate retrospectives and introspection and getting to know yourself. I think for me, the most important thing is figuring yourself out,
Mm.
and then you can, feed into the world. So just back to what we're talking about. Responsibility or adulthood to me is first and foremost taking care of yourself mentally so that you can take care of others. Uh, Taking care of your goals, like you have goals as an individual before taking care of the world. So I think that's responsibility to me. I have two kids. Having brought them into the world, I think it rests on me to make
Okay.
sure, like, I give them the best life possible. They don't
Mm.
go through what I went through, so you need to give them stuff that's different. The cliche, especially in African society, is to make our kids suffer so that they can be better people in the future. I don't believe in that. I make sure I give my kids the best. And also, healing generational trauma. Like I'll give you an example of some of the traumas we deal with, like growing up as like an African or a black or Zimbabwean young man. I constantly got like, verbally assaulted or abused, trying to help my dad with a spanner here, and that spanner is not right. They expect me to know, stuff like a mechanic.
Yeah.
I am not going to pass down that trauma, that pass down that trauma to my son. I'm going to
Mm.
try and make him like more responsible, speak to him better so that he can articulate himself, because you find that in society as adults we are angry, but we don't know where that anger comes from. It comes from how we're brought up and how we're treated. So it's my responsibility as an adult. It's my responsibility to make sure, I try and bring up like well-rounded kids. It's my
Okay.
responsibility to take care of my partner, also make sure that she's happy. So yeah, I think that's, responsibility on my part.
When I was growing up, now that you've mentioned that, when I was growing up, I think adults are the ones that kind of like made me to believe that if I do certain things, then I'm actually exercising responsibility. Until I became an adult, like you're saying, when I started to see that, I was still having that voice, kind of like dictating what I had to do in my life at that stage. I would be thinking, if I do this, how am my parents going to feel, or how are these people that raised me, kind of like going to respond to this? And I realized that there is more sadness in trying to live your life in the, with the spectacle of someone else. But the more I started to exercise my own responsibility, like you're saying, getting to know what I want, what makes me happy, being able to sustain myself, that was enough for me. And that's when I realized that this is what adulthood actually means. me being capable of being the person that I want to be, exercising responsibility on myself and not other people's expectations or perspectives of how things should go. Because like you're saying, societies where we come from, men are taught to explore. They are taught to explore. You guys can do anything. You can go on top of a roof and try to jump from there, and you are confident in your choices. But mostly women, I feel like that's something that's a little bit different with women. We kind of like too careful, and we desire to be perfect, to be validated, acknowledged, and seen. And in all that, a person can actually miss the mark of who they really are or who they really want to become.
Truly.
But they start to live in other people's voices of what is expected of them. Do you want to maybe comment on that?
No, most
From your
definitely.
own, yeah.
Most definitely open to comment on that. So, like I said, like earlier on, I've been on a journey of self-discovery. And I've been reading up and I've been engaging people, and I feel like, society, I'll speak on African society before I speak on like everything else, teaches men to explore. Men can go figure themselves out. Men can go out there and make mistakes and figure themselves out and then come back and apply their learnings, right?
Okay.
But women can't. Like women just need to, stay in line, get married, and whatever the man says goes. And I feel like that is so unfair.
Uh,
I would, to be honest with you, I would feel robbed if I hadn't had certain experiences, if I hadn't made certain mistakes, because
okay.
those learnings. So I'll refer you to something my dad always says, right? He always says, learn from me. You wouldn't want to be in places I've been or go through what I've gone through, because you might not make it out.
Okay.
And I partially agree and I partially disagree, right?
Yeah, likewise.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Mm,
like, okay, cool. I don't want to be, sorry to use this example, but I don't want to be an alcoholic and find
okay.
out by crashing cars or being in a trauma unit somewhere, or engaging in GBV
Mm,
under the influence, right? I don't want to be there, but I also
yeah.
want to experience things like, in our society we don't talk about things like financial literacy. So I want to make financial mistakes and learn from them, so that I have a solid footing. When I try and impart knowledge to my son, I will say, my son, look, I made this mistake, and this mistake led to this. Look, I made this poor investment, and this poor investment led me here, but you can do things
Okay.
differently. I feel like, unless you touch a hot plate, you don't know it's hot.
Mm,
So that's just what I feel like. And you know I feel like no one can dictate what adulthood is to anyone. We have totally unique experiences. Like your dad can
mm,
say, he went through this. They didn't have the exposure to technology that we have now. Which brings me to one other point I wanted to
yeah.
raise.
Things are evolving,
Things are
basically.
evolving. So your
Yeah.
your experience is unique to you. You were an engineer, maybe I'm a doctor. You were a doctor, maybe I'm a content creator.
Mm,
The world has evolved so much that I feel like it's tough to
you
offer anyone advice. You can offer them a skeleton, a guideline that they can operate within,
guidance.
but then they
Yes.
can, you know, put the flesh to that skeleton. So yeah,
Mm.
there's no one size fits all approach, but I just feel like society is typically unfair to women.
There's a danger as well in this, because sometimes as individuals we become so ambitious that we get ahead of ourselves as well, kind of like thinking we have the maturity yet we don't. So, do we really decide for ourselves, or sometimes we actually need the help to actually, decide whether we are a bit more mature, a bit more responsible, and whether we aspire to be better?
Yeah, it's
Do we need that help?
now look, one of the things that I came across like sometime in the week was mentorship, like the topic of mentorship. I
Okay.
think a mentor is not your set in stone approach to life, but a mentor is a guide. You can bump ideas, you know.
Mm,
I think waking up every day knowing that you are aspiring to be where, not to be that person, to be where this
okay.
person is, or even better, is better than
Mm.
waking up every morning and not knowing where to start.
Can I kind of like interject?
Yeah.
Can you clarify between a model, a role model, and a mentor? Because I so much see people mistaking a role model and a mentor in the end. A role model is someone that I can see on TV, and now I'm like, oh, I like Mariah because she's got this beautiful voice. She can sing so well. And that kind of like models what I want to do when I grow up in my profession or whatever. But what's the difference between a role model and a mentor? Because most people get lost in following role models rather than mentors.
So I'm happy with the example that you gave of Mariah, right? So I feel like role models
Yeah.
are people given to us by society to aspire
Mm,
to be, because remember how society works in a way. Society is entirely commercial, right? If Mariah is my role model, I want to
mm,
buy the latest Gucci or Louis that she has on. If
mm.
50 Cent is my role model, I want to wear the G Unit sneakers. I want to wear the jerseys or whatever.
And the chain too,
You know what I'm saying?
or the cap.
Yeah, you know.
Chains and cap, his signature.
Exactly, you know, that's a role model. But then like a mentor, it's intimate. Like
Okay.
I don't get to interact with my role model. I see him, I
Mm,
aspire to be him. I see her, I aspire to be her. But there's no interaction with my role model. Mentor is a person I engage with, you know, a
mm,
person who
mm,
understands me, a person who I try and articulate my vision to, a person who articulates their roadmap from where they started to where they are, and how I can get to where they are. So it's fair and fine. It's nice to see 50 Cent in a Ferrari. It's nice to see 50 Cent in Lamborghini, but I'll never really have a conversation with 50 Cent around, you know. I'm an aspiring rapper. How do I write bars as a
yeah.
rapper? What's 8 bars? How do I jump onto a beat? How do I do this? I'll never get that interaction with 50 Cent.
Yeah.
But in the field of
Yeah.
project management, I can go to a head of project management somewhere, and who I've had exposure to, like their accomplishments. I'm like, oh, flip. Like, I want to accomplish what this person has accomplished. I'm ticking my checklist. I'm just one person that's visual, so I like to write down stuff. I have a whiteboard. I have a
Mm,
diary, so I write down stuff like my day to day. I checklist everything, and that's
mm.
something I would like to do with my mentor. Like, we have a plan.
Okay.
You know, here's a plan. We're developing you in this direction. Okay, here's this
Okay.
milestone. Tick off the milestone. Okay, Robert, you need to work on your soft skills. Work on your handshake. Work on how you look at someone in the eye when you engage. Okay, tick. Okay, I can see you're starting to do that. Rob, plan your day out when you wake up in the morning. Oh, Rob is starting to put together like a checklist for the day.
Mm.
You know, those are actionables that we can work against. So I feel like a role model is someone I'm like, wow, you know, I want to be this.
You admire.
Exactly. A mentor is a wow, but with action.
Okay. Okay, thank you for such a wonderful point. I'm also thinking there are certain situations as well that kind of like force us into being adults. Like, for example, someone who grew up in the absence of parents.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they lost parents at a very early stage or whatnot. One of the things that I personally have found is that in the end, we all have that instinct that actually helps us to respond to situations, whether we think we are incapable of making the necessary decisions. It actually helps us to quickly adapt
Yeah.
and to learn so that, in the end, we survive whatever that is that we're going through in that moment.
Makes sense. Yeah. You bring up a
Do
very
you
valid
trust
scenario.
your instinct?
Nah.
Do you trust yours?
To be honest with you, I don't think there's a set in stone approach to tackling
Okay.
life, right? Like I'll tell you one of those things where that literally pushed me into adulthood. I think one of the biggest things
Okay.
that pushed me into adulthood was my son. Just being in a hospital and holding him. The first time I held him, like I cried, like I bore my eyes out.
Okay.
The other thing that I thought beyond that point was, you know, this person is entirely reliant on me.
Okay.
But also, if things fail or if I fail, I'm going to have to go back to my parents and be a child again instead of being an adult and holding the fort down. Not to say it's a bad thing to go
Okay.
seek help, but that motivates me every day. Like,
Growth. Yeah.
I
It
don't want to
motivates
go
growth.
back. I don't want to go back and beg for money for rent or whatever. So I'm gonna wake up every morning and give the day my best effort to make sure that mouths are fed. So I think for me that was a trigger to say like, look, now you're an adult. Now you need to feed like a family. Now you need to take care of this person, and it's something that I constantly like look at. Like I was speaking to someone, and someone was saying to me, "Oh, you already changed jobs. Like you're like a job nomad, right? Like a job gypsy." And I said to them,
Yeah.
how I look at life is I don't look at life now. I don't look at life at like I experience now, but I plan for the future. So if I
Okay.
want my son to go to a good school, my son is not gonna go to a good school based on my current salary, based on
Yeah.
factors like
Definitely.
like inflation and all of that. I'm gonna have to put
Yeah.
in like extra effort. It's like I study after hours. I run side little businesses on the side just to make sure that these kids have like the best future possible. So I think for me the trigger into adulthood, like the reality check, was when my son was born. Like I mean, obviously I'd already started working. I'd been working for like 3 years. But yeah, like that was like the biggest trigger to say like, dude, now you're grown up. Now you need to provide. So that was my reality check, to be honest. And yeah, I don't regret one bit of that. It's been pleasant. It's been pleasant. It's not easy, but it's been
Okay.
pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I see that we already mentioned how there are different thoughts on what it is to be an adult. But in as much as we have those different thoughts, there are also common threads that follow every adult, regardless of where they grow up. Like what you're saying right now, to say there's new responsibilities, you're a
Yeah.
father now, you have things that you need to pay for, you need to pursue new opportunities, new relationships, being married and having other people look up to you, and just the desire to be independent and the goals that you have. But did you feel prepared for all of these transitions and changes, or did it just come like like a shock?
I don't feel like anything ever prepares you for that stuff.
So what would you say to someone who's actually not feeling prepared? Because most of us, we always want to pursue things when we know we have a safety net.
Yeah.
If things go wrong, then I've got somewhere to fall back on. Like you were saying, you say that I don't want to make certain decisions that will get me back in my parents' house.
Yeah.
When I think of it from a perspective that says I lost a parent that would be in a position to support me this far. So if I make a wrong move, then it means I don't have a safety net to go back to. So what would you say to someone who's in a space where they are feeling like, I'm not prepared for this. They are so going through this emotional turmoil of they're not sure if they're doing things the right way. What would you want to say to them that can kind of like help to trust the instinct and the ability to cope in such?
Yeah, so where I would start is no one ever has anything figured out, right? Because
Yeah.
all these experiences are unique experiences.
Mm.
Let me take you 2 steps back. Pregnancy or going through pregnancy with my partner, unique
Okay.
experience in its own. I've never had a pregnant partner. We went
Okay.
into it, we gave it our best. Parenthood, I have never in my life had a I'd never before had a child, right? It's just like when I woke up today, I never had a 2 year, 11-month-old kid. You learn every day. But I think
As you go.
you learn as you
Yeah.
go. That's what it is. Like, don't be scared to do stuff. Like, I believe in being thrown into the deep end and learning to swim. That's how
Okay.
I've always gone through life. Jump into the deep end, swim, you know? Uh,
Mm.
swim. Like, you fight for your life. You're fighting for your life. You're not trying to drown. You're trying to get to the shallow end and get out of the pool. So that's how I always look at life. But like we said earlier on when we spoke about mentorship, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
certain things seem impossible. You know what they say? It's impossible until it gets done. Certain things
Okay.
seem impossible until you engage with people that are going through it already. Like, if I'm trying to get married, I'll surround myself with married couples. Then
Wow.
I can learn from married couples, right? I don't surround my
Yeah.
I don't attach myself to one couple. Remember what we
Mm.
spoke about. Experiences are unique to certain people. These people come from
Okay.
different backgrounds, they're different ages, they're different professions, they're exposed to different things.
Yeah. You learn from that.
Surround yourself with people that are going through what you're trying to get to. If I'm
I feel like you're taking me through therapy because I'm a very calculated person. I'm very calculated. I always have to be very certain when I make a certain decision. So now that you're saying that, you don't really know what you're capable of until you actually, you know, go in there, you
engage
know?
with it, engage with it. So, I mean, engage yourself with couples. Like, how do people manage their
Mm,
marriages, right?
mm,
There are vast topics. You can spend 3 years or 5 years or infinite time learning about these things, but grasp the basics. How do we manage finances in this household? I'm just giving an example in terms of marriage.
okay, okay.
How do you manage finances? Where do we place our
Mm,
money in investment wise? you know oh,
mm,
buying your first property. Where will I buy my first property? Buying your first car. Do I need to buy a Merc initially? You probably don't need to. People will take
mm,
you through that. Okay. I
mm.
remember with our daughter, she struggled with diapers initially because she had a stack of Pampers. Like we had like baby showers and stuff, and people commonly buy Pampers, but she was reacting to
Mm,
Pampers. So, and then like her skin got discolored, right,
okay.
over time.
Mm,
But do you know what that was around? It was
mm,
around picking the wrong nappy. And if we'd engaged someone or people with babies already, would have known because they
yeah.
would have been through that experience. So,
Okay.
I'm giving you like a simple analogy here. So,
Okay.
you were never ready for anything. To be honest, you were never ready. It's just like you move on to the next job. You get the job spec and it seems like you understand everything, you're gonna kill it until you're on the job. Then
Mm.
you start finding, oh,
Until you're on the ground.
you know,
Then
th-
you realize that this is beyond me.
exactly. This sounded so simple in principle, but now that I'm
Mm,
on the job, flip, I have to deal with characters. People are difficult, and all of that. So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you're never ready for anything. You learn as you go.
Thank you so much for that, ne? You kind of like cleared some anxieties that are around, things like relationships, basically, when you gave that example of the marriage. What would we have to say to someone who, transitioning into adulthood? Some people think if you have made it financially, then you have transitioned.
Nope.
Like that's what I used to think. I used to think that, if I'm able to, buy this and that for myself, be able to live a certain lifestyle, then I'm doing it. But what would you want to say to someone who's actually in the struggle of, finances on a financial perspective? Like maybe they are trying to get employment into a profession, but things are not just working out the way that they would expect to.
So here's what I'll say, right? Yeah, I
Mm,
hope you don't mind. I can just give you like a brief history of how I've gotten to where I am now.
okay.
It's been to get to where I am now, where I feel like
Mm,
I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I'm comfortable. I can provide. I can I live comfortably.
okay.
It's taken about 7 years.
Mm,
And if I look back, there's advice that I would have gotten elsewhere that I would have applied and I would have gotten to where I am now sooner than 7 years. But I don't regret it. It's been a learning
mm,
curve, and I think I do best. I think I am pretty much the best at what I do because of those experiences. What I'll say to someone from a financial perspective, don't put yourself under pressure. Set realistic goals. Associate
yes.
yourself.
Thank you so much for that. Being realistic.
You need to be realistic with yourself, right? Like
Mm,
I used to be under so much pressure before because, just to deviate a bit, I love cars, and there are certain
mm,
cars that I thought I could afford at a certain point that I couldn't actually afford. And
okay.
I was putting myself under pressure because there are a lot of things that we don't consider, right? Like I can buy myself the latest iPhone, but
Mm.
if I break the screen of that latest iPhone, I'm forking out 3K, 5K to get it back
And it's
working.
beyond you.
Do
Yeah.
I have the 3,000? Do I have the 5,000? I probably don't.
Yeah.
If I buy myself the
Mm,
latest Merc, if it breaks down today, it's gonna need to get towed away middle of the month, and you're waiting for
okay.
the day on the 25th. Can you afford to get
So
it towed away? Can't get it towed
so
away.
so you're saying we need to when you're saying we need to set realistic goals, we need to stay within our limits,
Stay
basically.
stay within your limits. Stay within your lane.
Not the picture that other people have set, not the picture that family has set or society has set, but what you can afford, what you can reach.
Exactly. Like, just going back to the like your question around finances, right?
Mm.
I think the biggest thief of a person's joy is comparison,
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely.
Stop comparing
Yeah.
yourself. And do you know where we derive a lot of comparison from? Social
Mm.
media, our Facebooks, our Instagrams,
Yeah.
our
I think also parents sometimes they had a way of instilling that comparison in us because they would be like, "Why do you do this? Why can't you be Mang Mang's child or that child from next door?" I think those things are deeply rooted in us as well, and we have to go on a journey of unplucking to say, "I don't care about what other people are doing, but it also has to start with me. What do I think about what I am doing?"
yeah, but here's the difference between me and a lot of people, right? Like I told
Mm,
you, I have gone on a journey of self-discovery. I've gone on
yeah.
a journey of individuality. So my parents literally don't tell me how to live my life. Look, here's what I keep saying to people.
Mm,
I have two kids now, right? If I dictate who they become, or if they dictate who I become as a person, what happens when they leave my household, right?
mm.
Who am I beyond the point that they leave my household? you can't go through your life defining your life as so and so's child, so and
Yeah.
so's wife, so and so's father, so and so's whoever.
Yeah. You have to be yourself.
We need to figure out individuality before, like I said, before you can give to the world, before you can give love, before you can offer guidance. Who are you? Who are you? And I'm not talking who are you professionally. I'm not talking who are you financially. I'm saying if you were stripped of your finances today. That's why, because people identify with material. If someone loses all their money today, they'll commit suicide. No disrespect to, the topic of suicide and depression or whatever. I'm just saying,
Okay.
because you identify with a certain thing. If I woke up today and found my car on fire, and that's the bane of my existence. I'm Robert with the Lexus. I'm Robert with the Honda. I'm Robert with the Benz. Then that's the end of my identity. If I walked out and it was burning, so I'm saying, who are you? Let's go back to the fundamentals. Who are you?
Sometimes it's also important for us to acknowledge the people that raised us. I feel like I actually need to commend my mom for all the hard work that she used to do. Because when we were growing up, she would kind of like make us aware of what was expected of us later. So some of the things are not so shocking when we have to start seeing them. But it kind of like feels like, oh, okay, I was expecting this reality and it's now happening. So I go back to those survival skills that she taught me by allowing me to take on small responsibilities. And that kind of like prepared me. Those small responsibilities kind of like prepared me for the challenges that I'm facing now as an adult. Because if it doesn't work in the place where I am professionally qualified, I can do other things on the side that can actually sustain me as an individual. So I think that mental preparation is very important in people's ability to actually transition as well. So thank you so much, Rob. It was really nice to have you in this conversation. You brought to light so many fruitful and useful contributions and points that I feel they really helped not only me today, but I feel they are going to help some people listening to this episode in the future. Thank you so much for your contribution, and I hope we will have another opportunity again to kind of like sit down and have a conversation with you, because I like your train of thought. Thank you so much for that. So I will be concluding our discussion, guys, for today. We cannot assume that everyone is equipped for life as an adult. Knowledge is something that is learned and imparted. Instincts help, but they need to also be accompanied with actual life lessons from and also we need to have trustworthy role models around us that can actually not role models. In fact, we need to have trustworthy mentors. We kind of like rectified that with Rob, that can actually help us to transition and to move forward. And there is a responsibility among the present generation of adults in a certain community or in a certain family as well, to raise and empower the next generation of adults. And I'm glad, Rob, you are one of the people that are going to bring the change when you are also like, parenting your own kids, changing it from how things were and transitioning to what is it that is needed, considering the fact that, we say life is always evolving. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Let's remember to invite others to these discussions, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Where necessary, drop us an email on nicole@realoutloud.co.za. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that will be all from us today. Thank you. For more on our episodes on these relatable conversations, please check us on our website, www.realoutloud.co.za, or other podcast platforms. Our episodes are also accessible on social media platforms indicated on our website and our YouTube page. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and invite others to our web page. Ciao.